Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I am just off screen here. What I want to do is, in this video, we're going to go through all of these. So these are a bunch of Weevil motors, pendant motors, flex shafts. So I want to go through things like prices, the build quality of them, the features of them all. I'm also going to show you the volume of each of them running at low and high speeds. And we're going to show off the power of them, because that's probably the key difference. But first, we'll just go through the prices. So Weevil have a range of motors. I've only got 3 of them. They were the only 3 available. If you look on the far side over here, I've got my old Azito. So that one I can buy for 55 bucks Aussie down the street. The next model up is the Weevil. So this one was 72 bucks. This is for a 380 watt grinder. Now this is the most expensive, but I've put it here. It's 96 bucks. This is what they call the SR. And as you can see from the front of it, it's kind of like the Fordham knockoff. And then finally, the big boy, 91 bucks. This is a 780 watt model. And if you look at the Azito is rated at 170 watts, so it's the weakest. And there are a lot of differences. So build quality wise, the Azito, you can see, is a very different form factor. It's your standard rotary tool, but it's got a flex shaft attachment, and so this is how I've always been using it, just hanging it up. It's got its on-off switch physically located on it. It's a double insulated tool, and for speed, it's got this dial here that increases all the way up, all the way down. And as I said, it's only about 170 watts, so compared to the others, it should be a lot weaker, and I can tell you it definitely is, and I'll show that off in a moment. Now the Weevils, I'm always sus about really cheap electrical equipment from China. At work, I do a lot of rewiring on a lot of stuff because it's nice and cheap, but there's just some electrical quality issues, typically around safety, but these are all grounded quite well. So the earthing to the enclosure is actually adequate and it would pass safety testing. So apart from the difference in power, the RPM is actually pretty similar, 2300 there, 1800 on that one, and 2500 on this really strong boy over here. The flex shafts themselves are also quite different. So on this cheapest model, it's actually quite thin, very similar to what the Azito's got. The handpiece is pretty chunky on all of them. So there's an example of one of the handpieces. The only one that's going to be different is the high-powered one. It's got a fairly standard plastic sleeve on it, pretty simple attachment. Very similar to the Fordham knockoff one. It's a little higher quality, this one, but the handpiece is exactly the same. On the high-powered one, this 780 watt one here, you can see if I bring the handpiece, so the handpiece is bigger, but it is fittable on the other 2 models as well. So this is it here. I've got a sintered diamond burr mounted in it at the moment. But look at the cable. So you can see here, this is the only one that doesn't have a plastic cable on it. It's actually got this reinforced springy steel, which with the power that this thing has, is understandable. And I'll show you how it obliterates material like you wouldn't believe. I probably wouldn't recommend it for any of the lapidary people out there. It's a little bit hardcore. So the only other thing with these ones are that the Fordham knockoff has a forwards and backwards function with a switch here, and all 3 are controlled with a foot pedal, which is surprisingly effective. I actually don't mind it. It feels pretty flimsy when you first get it out of the box, and pretty hard to control, but it's actually quite easy to use. I do a lot of drumming, and with my drumming I play with heel up. So I actually use this heel up as well and have it facing backwards and have my heel on the press end. So I don't use my toes at all. It makes my calves not cramp up quite so quickly. So I haven't had these for long, so don't take this as a full-on recommendation of any of them or ruling any of them out. I'm actually set up for an affiliate link system for Weevil, but I haven't quite worked out how to do that. If I have, it'll be in the description below. So if you do want to get one, feel free to follow those links and then I might get something out of it as well. But like I said, there'll be a more in-depth review on each of these models later on. I'm already going to say, from just having them for a couple months, this one here, the 780 watt, don't bother with this one. This one is too much. It's too strong. It is not for any kind of delicate work. This thing is for powering through, I don't know what, concrete or something. It is hardcore, as we will show you now. So have a look at this aluminium oxide stick. All I've done is used a pretty flat-bottomed sintered diamond burr and just pressed it straight into here, as I can show you clips of now. First up was the Azeto. Now the Azeto is one that I'm very comfortable with. I know what it does to the aluminium oxide sticks. I use it to refresh the burrs all the time. I'll probably stop doing that now because as you can see, I pressed pretty hard and this is the little dimple it does. Also, if we play the footage and you listen carefully, do you notice the sound difference? So the motor is actually starting to stall when I press really hard with the slower speed. It really can't keep up that torque, and that would be that 170 watt motor inside. It's a little bit weak. Now moving on to the Vevor 380 watt, it too struggled a little bit if I pressed hard. I could feel the motor starting to slow down, but it was nowhere near as dramatic as what it was with the Azeto. With the Azeto, I could almost make it completely stall if I wanted to really damage the machine. The 380, it would slow down, it would whinge a little bit about it, but it would get through pretty fast and pretty aggressively. It's not a huge problem. For a lot of our work, it won't really make any difference at all. For lapidary, it would be perfectly fine. Moving on to the SR may be the best model of the lot. If I were to call it now, that would be the one that I would just stick with. I'll give the 380 a little bit more of a chance, but this SR operates a lot better than either of these two, so the Azeto or the 380. It managed to not really slow down too much at all. It got through pretty easily, slow speed, pushing hard, still no stalling, very consistent power. I just did it in the forwards. The reverse I haven't tried, but it should operate pretty similar. It does sound a little bit different though, the motor, when it goes into reverse. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's quieter and it makes a bit more of a rattly noise. I'm not sure what that is or whether it's meant to be like that. I'll play around with it a bit more. Now, as for this absolute beast monstrosity, the 780 watt, it blew the side out of this at one point. Quite a frightening beast. To get this deep took seconds, maybe not even seconds. I could have probably pressed straight through the whole stick. It did not care, didn't change any kind of revving speeds, didn't do anything like that. I didn't need to give it more juice to go straight in. It just goes. It goes and goes. If I was trying to install Dynabolts into concrete to hold up a post or something, this is the tool that I would use. I am not letting this thing get near my opals. It is going to do absolute devastation instantly. It's just a little too much. The other thing with all of this is I use this tool and I can use it pretty late at night. So with the Azeto, it's not that loud. So I'll just give you a small sample of each of them at slow speed first. And then at high speed. So you can hear quite a lot of difference there, and you guys can make up your mind whether that's good or bad, which one suits you. I know some people are living in apartments and stuff and you've got to keep the noise down. Keep in mind that you'll probably only ever really use the slow speed anyway, so they're probably the most important comparisons. But I think it's something that we should keep in mind. I always wear hearing protection. All of those recordings were done from 30 centimeters away directly facing the machine. That's pretty much the measured distance of my ear to my left ear to the pendant motor hanging up next to my head. So I thought that was a pretty good positioning. Anyway, that's all my thoughts about it. Like I said, if I can get these affiliate codes working out, then I can include those. But otherwise, yeah, just consider it anyway. And you've got the prices from 55 Aussie to 90 something Aussie. These are still all very much really affordable compared to once you get to flat laps or cabbing wheels especially. And of course, neither of those can do carving anyway. So if you're really into carving, definitely consider these. They can also be used for jewelry, which is what I'll also be planning on doing. Hopefully if the channel keeps going well, I'll be able to put more money into more tools and I'll be able to compare something like the knockoff SR to the actual Foredom SR. The only problem is that the price is like 6 times the difference, maybe more. Who knows? Maybe I can try to reach out to Fordham and maybe they'll give me a demo unit or something. I might try that. But anyway, until then, I'm going to keep interchanging mostly between these 3. I have a very strong feeling my Porazito is not going to get a lot of work done anymore though. I think one of these 2 are going to be the winners, and I'm 90% sure it's going to be the SR, especially since it's got a forwards and backwards mode, and I do know that sometimes I would like to go the other way. Anyway, it's really exciting to use new tools, so I'm going to get back to it. See you guys in the next one. It could be a number of different stones that are on the cutting table at the moment. So good luck with your carving and catch you around.